The WNBA Finals were meant to be a defining moment, a showcase of elite athleticism, emotional storytelling, and the culmination of a season that had brought women's basketball to new heights. But when A'ja Wilson and DeWanna Bonner stepped onto the court to see swaths of empty seats, the air left the room. The silence was louder than the cheers that should have filled those arenas. Instead of celebration, the finals felt like a reckoning, a mirror held up to the league's fragile reality. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's spotlight had dimmed to a flicker. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The matchup was stacked with talent, MVPs, veterans, and stars who had spent years building the league from the ground up. But the anticipation that usually fuels a championship run simply wasn't there. There were no trending clips, no packed sports bars, no social media buzz. Fans scrolling through ticket sites saw prices as low as $35, an unthinkable number for a finals game. The visuals told the rest of the story. Entire sections of arenas left empty, rows of red seats glaring on national television. For Wilson, the reigning MVP and face of the Las Vegas Aces, it was surreal. She looked around during warm-ups and muttered under her breath, "This is the finals?" It wasn't arrogance, it was disbelief. Years of hard work, of fighting for respect and visibility, had led to this moment, and yet, the silence said it all. DeWanna Bonner, her veteran counterpart on the opposing side, felt the same sting. After Game 1, she stood before reporters, visibly frustrated. "You work your whole career for moments like this," she said. "You just hope people care enough to show up." But they didn't. The cameras caught her expression, a mix of disappointment and exhaustion. The passion was there. The audience wasn't. On social media, fans began dissecting the failure in real time. If Caitlin Clark were playing, these tickets would be $500, not $35, one user wrote. It wasn't just a hot take, it was the truth that everyone felt but few wanted to admit. Without Clark, the WNBA's finals had become an echo chamber. The league's leadership tried to spin it. They framed the matchup as historic, praised the athletes, and promised a thrilling series. But the fans weren't buying it. They wanted more than competition, they wanted connection. And Caitlin Clark had given them that. Her games weren't just basketball. They were events. Her presence transformed arenas into theaters, her rivalries into storylines. But when she and the Fever were eliminated, that magic evaporated overnight. The finals that followed were a painful contrast. No viral moments, no buzz, just the hollow sound of a missed opportunity echoing through half-empty stands. Wilson and Bonner's frustration soon boiled over. In Game 2, the pressure exploded. Cameras caught Wilson slamming her towel, muttering under her breath as she stared into the sparse crowd. Bonner, moments later, yelled something toward the stands after a missed layup, words that microphones didn't catch. But fans online lip-read instantly, "Nobody cares." Within hours, those clips went viral. Comment sections lit up with fire. "Maybe if they stopped hating Caitlin, they'd have fans," one user wrote, summarizing the public's growing resentment. The league had spent months brushing off the Clark phenomenon, treating her fans as outsiders rather than the future. Now, that decision had come full circle. By the time the post-game press conference rolled around, both stars looked emotionally spent. "It's embarrassing," Bonner admitted. "We put everything into this and people act like it doesn't matter." Wilson nodded in agreement. "We shouldn't have to beg for respect," she said quietly. That single sentence cut deeper than any highlight could. These were two of the league's best players reduced to pleading for attention. And the irony was unmistakable. Months earlier, both had been critical of the attention Clark was getting. Now, they were asking for the same spotlight she'd carried effortlessly. The narrative had flipped, and the fans weren't sympathetic. Online, the reaction was merciless. Memes flooded timelines, showing empty arenas captioned with, "You wanted her gone, now look around." It wasn't trolling, it was disappointment. Fans who had fallen in love with the game because of Caitlin Clark now felt alienated by the very veterans who had mocked her. The finals had become more than a championship series. It was a cultural divide laid bare. The old guard versus the new wave. Pride versus progress. And the league, caught in the middle, seemed to have no idea how to bridge that gap. Inside the locker rooms, the tension was suffocating. Players were frustrated, staff were panicking, and executives were scrambling to rewrite the narrative. Wilson reportedly told teammates after Game 3, "We show up, we work, we play hard, and somehow it's still our fault." Her words revealed a truth few wanted to confront. The WNBA wasn't failing because of effort or talent. it was failing because it refused to evolve. The old rivalries, the resentment, the constant infighting, it had all built up to this moment. A championship played in front of a disinterested crowd, overshadowed by what wasn't there. The numbers confirmed what everyone already felt. Attendance was at an all-time low. TV viewership dropped nearly 50% from the semifinals. Even ESPN struggled to spin the disaster. Analysts admitted the obvious. Fans were tuning out not because of the game, but because the emotional connection was gone. "They're watching for stories, not slogans," one commentator said. And right now, the WNBA isn't telling one worth following. That quote became the defining headline of the finals. For Wilson and Bonner, the realization was painful. They had spent their careers fighting to prove women's basketball deserved respect. But now they were playing for a league that couldn't hold on to its own audience. Wilson reportedly broke down in private after learning how low the ratings had dropped. Bonner, ever the veteran, said quietly, "You can't ignore the fans. They decide who matters." That line, simple, honest, and devastating, summed up the league's entire problem. By the time the final game ended, the confetti looked like camouflage, trying to hide what everyone already knew. The WNBA's biggest stage had become its most revealing mirror. Empty seats, deflated players, a commissioner on the defensive, and a fan base that had finally had enough. The trophy may have been lifted, but the victory rang hollow. What lingered wasn't celebration, it was silence. A silence that said more about the state of the league than any stat line ever could. Because here's the truth. The WNBA doesn't have a talent problem. It doesn't even have a marketing problem. It has a humility problem. It forgot who brought the fans in, who reignited the spark, and who made people care again. And until the league learns to embrace that reality instead of fighting it, every championship will look just like this one, an echo of what could have been. So now, the question isn't who won the finals. The question is what the WNBA learned from them. Can the league rebuild trust with its fans? Can it put aside pride and finally embrace the players who moved the needle? Or will it keep pretending that empty seats don't matter until it's too late? Let's talk about it in the comments. Do you think the WNBA will finally wake up and change course? Or is this the beginning of a slow decline? If you're passionate about women's basketball and believe in accountability, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation, because this story is far from over.